Paula Caligiuri, PhD, is a DMSB, Distinguished Professor of International Business and Strategy at Northeastern University, and has authored numerous award-winning articles and books on multicultural effectiveness, global careers, and fostering cultural ability. She is the CEO and Andy Palmer, co-founder of Skillify, a public benefit corporation dedicated to helping people build professional success. The two collaborated on writing the new best-selling career guide, Live for a Living. We'll talk about it in a bit. But before we get into the conversation on the topic at hand, identifying your ideal career. I know it sounds interesting because everybody wants to mold their career in the way they wish to. But before we get into the topic, here's an exciting twist. Let us tickle the brain's guest first. So, Paula, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few. The first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Curiosity.
Necessary.
Invention.
My father.
Future.
Right.
Book.
Writing.
Movie.
Date night.
Career.
Fulfillment.
Universe.
Vast.
Leadership.
Oh gosh. Critical.
Aliens.
Among Us.
And the last one is success.
Fulfillment.
Awesome. That was spot on. And thank you for participating in the first rapid fire round. There is one more waiting towards the end of the episode. So stay tuned, Paula. And let me welcome the audience. So, folks, welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series where we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place through valuable discussions that add value not only to your life but also to your career. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Paula, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Naveen. Thank you so much for having me. And that was kind of fun to play.
Pleasure to have you. So let's teach the world while we have fun as well. So let's begin with your success mantra. Talk to us about top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far.
Sure. For me, it's been number one is mentorship by far. I mean, having good guides throughout my career have been incredibly helpful. I think the second one would be knowing myself very, very well and getting to know myself. It's a continuous relationship to try to better understand what's fulfilling for me. And the third would be continually trying different things to figure out what fits with my natural ability and what doesn't. Those would be the 3.
Amazing. And knowing self, I think knowing self very well is first time I'm hearing so loudly here in this one. And I think that is going to help us immensely, right? We are our own masters of ourselves and masters of our career. And I think that is going to help us immensely. And let's get into the core of today's conversation. And career is something which I love the most, and especially mentoring people, guiding them. That is one of the intentions. That is one of the mission behind this podcast. That's why I am on a mission to shape the lives and careers of millions across the globe, right? So career, the moment I saw your profile, I was so intrigued. Like you're doing something what many of my audience are anticipating, right? So that's why I thought, let me invite Paula. Let me bring on her to the show. And now I would like to hear from you. How do you define an ideal career?
Sure. Ideal career. I mean, I'm sure your listeners and you are very accustomed to hearing the concept of flow, the thing that is so critical for our well-being. It like gets us into this state of almost like losing ourselves in what we're doing because we're so connected, we're so engaged. So I think of a great career as an opportunity that generates some income for us, right? So you can't forget that, but also puts us into a state of flow more than it doesn't. So an opportunity to really find fulfillment through what we're doing and get us into a good state of emotional well-being.
Wow. So it's like, let me go back to work so energetically and I don't have to feel bored, right? So that is what that is what I can
Yeah, it's not perfect all the time, right? None of our jobs are wonderful all the time,
Right.
but there's aspects of it that
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit hyperbole to say, but you'd almost do it for free because you're enjoying it so much. So that might be hyperbole, but just to try to get people kind of crafting careers for themselves, get them more engaged with more of what they're doing throughout the day.
Got it. And how can someone identify their ideal career?
Yeah. So we have an approach. Certainly, I'm sure you do also with the guiding voice. That it really is about self-understanding and self-awareness and building an understanding of what are your natural skills. We all are naturally good at something. And it might not be what we want to do, but there's something that we're naturally gifted in. Most people don't know.
Yeah.
Then we have to think about, well, what do we love? Like, what, just if we could do anything in the world, what would it be and why? So that kind of can get us closer. And then kind of the flip side is, what don't we want to be doing? How do we not want to work? What activities do we not want to do and engage in? But every piece of this forms an understanding of ourselves a little bit more, that helps us kind of hone in on what could be the ideal career. And then after that, everything's a journey, right? So then you try something else, you pivot, you might add, you might, pull some aspects of your career back. You might try something completely new, or you might do the same thing with a different organization and see if it's the context.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep moving and tacking until you kind of get closer and closer to that ideal career. And we have a few other approaches that we can talk about, but that's kind of It's really healthy self-awareness, and then applying that, and not being afraid to revise.
Yeah, that was spot on. So now let's move to the next one. Like, people say, like, it is easy to have autonomy over your career, but is having autonomy over someone's career truly within reach? If so, how?
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Autonomy, it's interesting. It's an interesting one because it's structural. It's like, who are you reporting to, and to what extent do you have the freedom to get up every day and do what you want to do? That's the kind of reporting autonomy. And then there's sort of this mental autonomy, that you're doing exactly what you want to be doing, or close to what you want to be doing, such that regardless of who's telling you to do it, you're kind of happy to be doing it. And they're both really important. So yes, autonomy is within reach, and for a lot of people, it's entrepreneurial, or sort of doing something that's their own venture, because then it really is kind of completely their own.
Mm-hmm.
But for other people, they can find that autonomy even within an employment structure, because there's something that they so want to be doing, and they're really enjoying it. And frankly, the best leaders, that's why the rapid fire, when you said the word leadership, I'm like, oh, it's critical. The best leaders know how to instill the autonomy that individuals want, because it's part of what keeps people engaged and motivated. So yeah, I think it's within reach for many, certainly not everyone. If you're in a job because you need to be there and you can't have options, of course, and not unrealistic that there's a lot of autonomy in that. But for those who have some agency over their careers, absolutely, they can gain autonomy, at least on mental autonomy.
Yeah, and what I see is, especially if you are in a job, like person like me who is working in a multinational organization, right? Leaders should actually be setting up that particular culture of owning autonomy or owning their own career. But often, what I have seen is, if somebody likes me, right, they don't want to lose me. And probably they'll not have the career opportunities within also, but at the same time, they feel like, okay, what if this guy leaves? I think that particular notion has to change. What do you say?
That is so critical. I agree. Leaders hanging on to talent because they're so good, and yet at the same time, individuals saying, "Well, I feel really stuck," and so a leader doesn't have any motivation to lose you. So that's where we talk about, and I'm sure you do as well. That idea of own your career. No one will own it for you. So I don't know how it's happening in India, but in the US, there's a lot of work around just headhunters. So people sort of manage their career by headhunters. They wait until search firms call them and then they'll move. It's like, no. You're letting a search firm kind of is compensated when they place someone who's incredibly well, qualified into a role. That's what makes them look good. Guess what? That may or may not be the role that you really need or want. It's the role that's going to make them look good for the skills that they need for a client. So we have to kind of remember your boss might want to keep you because you're so good at what you do. Your headhunter's just trying to make themselves look good and do the right thing for their client. Who's managing your next steps?
Yeah.
That's where we really need to start to take more ownership and be more directed.
Yeah. Good one. And Paula, in a time of unpredictability in the job market, especially now, I think again the recession is not over yet, and the market is not that great as far as I have seen, and I don't know how it is in the United States, right? So how can someone find a career that feels meant for them in this kind of market?
Yeah. Unemployment is pretty low here right now, but I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of volatility in terms of different functional areas. Some of them are having an easier time than others. You're right. There's a lot of uncertainty in what's going on. We always think, when we talk about, Andy and I, when we talk about managing your career, we always say, manage it like a portfolio. And you think about we call them career acts. I think other people have called them by different names, but the idea of having almost like your portfolio, having different streams of income. And it could be that it's a side hustle, a side gig, whatever. It could be that you're building something for the future. Like say, for instance, you're working full time, but working on a training course to give yourself another skill that gives you a wider portfolio. So the idea is, again, kind of thinking about what's the skill set that you're currently applying to the job that you're in? What are the skills that you could be growing, either actively leveraging them for an additional source of income, or eventually kind of manage the portfolio such that you just have a broader range of skills to bring to the next opportunity that you have. I think I keep going back to it. I know you do as well, Naveen. That idea of self-management. It's all about, where do you want to take your skill set? Where do you want to apply your energy, your time, your talent? Where do you want to work and how? That's really critical.
Got it. And also, I heard you mentioned about personal values in one of the other podcasts, right? So how can values be leveraged to play into a career? And can you talk about your values and how you are leveraging and planning your career?
Sure. My professional values, of course, there's all kinds of personal values, of course, value family, faith, and that, right? My personal value when it comes to career is I'm an academic, as you noted in my bio, but I love the idea of disseminating knowledge for broader use. So part of what I do, where I sort of find my sense of flow, is opportunities to create knowledge, but also disseminate it to really make it accessible to people to use it. It's why we started Skillify, actually, was to democratize the acquisition of soft skills. It was really the ability to give more to others. I think for most people, we don't spend too much time thinking about what do we value when it comes to our true north, and how does that apply to we can identify our values when it comes to our personal life, our family life, our life with our friends, our faith community, whatever. Those values are easy to structure. When it comes to values, what do you want to add to the world? What's your purpose? What's your true north in that regard? So I think for many of us, we need to kind of allow ourselves just a little time to think that through, right? And it might be an exercise as simple as, what do you hope to leave in the world? Like, what do you hope from using your time, your talents, your energy? What do you hope the world gains as a function of you using those things that were unique to you? And then are you? Is this current opportunity allowing that to happen? Yeah, that's probably the most basic, simple exercise. Sometimes it's a little harder to do. Like, so it's easier on the personal side.
Paula, also, why should people aim to have a career that aligns with their values as well as happiness? Because happiness is something very important, right? We cannot get the time that we have lost spending in a wrong job or a wrong career as such.
Yeah. Naveen, we have to be careful because we talk about, you and I love the concepts of careers and career fulfillment. And I think both of us would agree that we wish that for everyone, right? That everyone can go to work with this sense of fulfillment and purpose. But there's something, some things that we know in psychology that some people really do want very little work-life overlap. And some people don't have work centrality. For them, really, work is merely a paycheck.
Yeah.
And we have to honor that as well, right? Yeah. So if we honor that and say, okay, if work is merely a paycheck, minimally think of the context in which you're the happiest. So for example, I know with IT, sometimes it's like, hey, I want to work. I'm going to pretty much work alone. Like I want to work and just kind of do my own thing. But I want to know that when I am with others, that they're kind of fun and friendly and supportive. And it's the context in which you're allowing yourself to sort of do your work. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the best way to honor that sense of fulfillment. If you're not a careerist, if you don't just want to start a company or work into like the best possible, whatever your functional area is, that's cool too. We have to honor that, but respect what you value from the context that you're in. And at least apply whatever it is you're doing for the paycheck, apply that in a context that you feel at least minimally comfortable being in. The worst combination is when people really dislike what they're doing for a paycheck. They don't really care much about their career and they don't like where they're doing it. So.
Got it. I've seen many people who do work for the sake of it and just merely getting the paycheck. I think it's okay. Not everybody is same, right? I get it.
Yeah, and we honor that. We honor that in the book as well. Like we kind of keep talking about, look, this isn't right for everyone, but like the bare minimum would be get into the context that you feel most comfortable. Yeah. You might not love what you're doing. You might be bored. You might be whatever, but at least you're surrounded when you're there by light and energy that is fine, is okay with you and for you.
Yeah, got it. And let's talk briefly about your book, Live for a Living. Yeah, title itself is so intriguing.
Actually, the title is kind of a fun one.
Yeah.
So this was supposed to be the second edition of a book called Get a Life, Not a Job. So that was the book that I wrote a decade ago. And our publisher said, yeah, we tested that out. And, in this climate, that's considered quite rude. So the idea about, they kind of helped us retitle it and Live for a Living. It was fun. We ran some polls on LinkedIn to try to get, what resonated with people. The idea of Live for a Living was really this idea is you're a whole person. You're not just, the person who commutes into the job that does the job that comes home and leaves. You're a whole person. You have gifts and talents and preferences and passions and, those are all part of your life. But on top of that, you want to make sure that fits with the life that you want to have. So if you're the person who wants to never miss a child's recital or a dinner at home, yet you want to work like you are, Naveen, at a big multinational company. Well, you know what? That might have you on the road. That might have you in, traveling more than you'd like. So it's the idea also. So it's not just working on yourself, it's also working on your other priorities and how those fit with the career that you want.
Good one. I think it sounds so interesting. And I recommend audience, whoever is watching or listening to this episode, please grab a copy. You will find the link to the book in the show notes or the episode description. And Paula, we've had amazing conversation and it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement. If you're ready, let me kick off this section.
Oh, goodness. I like spice.
Okay. All right. So if you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
Be kind.
Be kind. And next is, if you were given a chance to swap your life with someone for a day, who would it be and why?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Amazing.
My life has been far from perfect. And I wish a lot of things for my life, but you know what? This was the one I constructed, and it was my journey. So I don't think I'd swap it out.
I love it because you wrote that book as a live for a living, and I can correlate to where you're coming from. That's amazing. So kudos. Can you describe yourself in just one word?
Tenacious.
Tenacious. Oh, awesome. And if you could invite anyone to your dinner table, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh gosh, it would be two people. It would be my mom and dad, and because I've lost them recently and I miss them.
Sorry to hear that. And tell me three things. Tell me three things that start with never have I ever.
Oh wow. I'm not a physical risk taker, so never have I ever bungee jumped. I love traveling. I've traveled all over the world, but I've never been to Iceland. And that's how I see it sounded. Everybody who goes says it's beautiful. And I've met a lot of fantastic, amazing people in my career, but I've never met a head of state, president or a prime minister.
Got it. Fair enough. And thank you for sharing that. And here comes the last bullet out of rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
Oh gosh, I like something to fix climate change. I want a big gadget, like something that would just like take carbon dioxide out of the
Yeah, I think that is the need of the hour. That is the need of the hour. Amazing. So let's flip back to the mainstream, and here comes the last but one question. What practical advice would you give to someone looking to start a new career path?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is spend a little time in self-reflection, a little time working through your true talents, your natural gifts, how you like to work, how you don't like to work, the context in which you flourish the most. Like just spend. So I'm kind of embedding a lot into the one piece of advice, but really spend time getting to know yourself. And then I think the next thing is lock in on something that gives you a directional goal. Like, and it might change. It's okay. It's like a GPS for the journey. You can still change where you're going, but it kind of helps you start moving in a direction that will help you gain more information about where you want to be going and what you want to be doing in your career. So first thing I do, like even with my students, I do that with them as well. Like really lock in on what's unique to you.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you so much for those insights. And how is your experience being hosted on the Guiding Voice platform?
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. I wish your audience great success. And you're doing a good thing, Naveen. This is needed.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Paula. And I really appreciate you taking time to spend on this important topic, which is my personal favorite, and really appreciate it. Looking forward to hosting you again in the future. Thank you so much once again.
That would be wonderful. In fact, the audiobook for Live for a Living is coming out at the end of March. So hopefully we'll have some fun with that one.
Sure. So please share all the links. I'll be putting them in the show notes, and audience will have an opportunity to grab one. Perfect. Thank you.
Sounds good. Sounds great. Take care.
Yeah, sure. Take care. So, friends, that was our episode with Paula Caligiuri. And before we get into the fun trivia section, here is a quick request. In case if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the Guiding Voice podcast from wherever you have tuned in, because subscribing keeps you updated on new episodes. And also, if you enjoyed this conversation and found it useful, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the Guiding Voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. All right, now let's cruise into the trivia segment. So today's trivia is about the roots of career planning. And here comes the first fact. It is about the early 20th century vocational guidance. The roots of career planning can be traced back to the vocational guidance movement in the early 20th century. And this movement emerged in response to the rapid industrialization and urbanization of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. which created a complex job market and a need for guidance in choosing suitable careers. Frank Parsons, often referred to as the father of vocational guidance, played a pivotal role in this movement with the establishment of the Bureau of Vocational Guidance at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1908. And Parsons' work involved matching individual talents and skills with the demands of various professions, laying the groundwork for modern career counseling and planning. Likewise, if you have any interesting trivia related to career guidance and planning, do let me know. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there, or if you have found this episode on some social media platforms, you can comment there as well. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of awesome TGV community. Folks, we would love to hear from you. So do not hesitate to share your ideas, feedback, either through our social media platforms, or you can also email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com, and let's create content that resonates with you. I'm your host Naveen Samala, a lifelong learner, and my goal is to have impactful conversations that improve not only your life but also your career. So until next time, take care and stay inspired. Remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you in the next episode with another amazing guest.